I want to get back to the tax plan. Our next guest represents small businesses. He does not like the new tax plan, even though it lowers the tax rate for small businesses. John Arensmeyer, Small Business Majority founder and CEO thereof. So welcome to the program. It's good to have you with us.
Good to be here, Stuart.
You got to explain this because, as I understand it, a lot of small businesses, the pass-through account people, they'll pay a maximum tax rate of 25%, and that is the lowest rate since World War II. What's wrong with that?
Well, Stuart, actually right now, only 13% of small businesses pay higher than 25%. And now when you combine that with the changes in the rate structure that's being proposed, only 2% of small businesses are going to benefit from this lowering of the pass-through rate. So it's not a benefit to small business, and this whole bill is being done as a $1.5 trillion hit on the deficit at a time of relative economic prosperity. So it just doesn't add up for the average small business owner in America.
So I just want to summarize this. You're saying, okay, they get a lower tax rate, but very, very few small businesses actually pay a higher rate. In other words,
correct.
Very, very few small businesses actually get a cut. That's your argument, basically?
That's absolutely correct. And the sort of pass-through entities that get a cut are, hedge fund managers, investment bankers, lobbyists, not your, pizza shop in Utah or your body shop in South Carolina. These are not the Main Street small businesses. And we would love to see a tax bill that actually addresses the needs of Main Street small businesses. We've proposed a tax cut from the bottom up instead of the top down, such as giving all businesses an opportunity to deduct the first $25,000 worth of income. That would really hit the vast majority of Main Street businesses and not just a very small sliver of very wealthy pass-through entities.
The trouble is that they've got to fit this tax cut deal inside a format where there's $1.5 trillion cut over 10 years. They've got to shoehorn it into that little corner, and if they don't do that, it'll take 60 votes in the Senate to get any kind of tax reform, and they haven't got 60 votes. So they're being pushed into a corner basically by Senate rules. That's the situation, isn't it?
Well, the hit to the deficit on what they're proposing on pass-through is $448 billion over 10 years. And that doesn't even, by the way, cover all businesses paying over 25% because they're eliminating certain service businesses. So you're not even hitting everybody. There are ways to give a tax cut from the bottom. And by the way, we think all these tax cuts should be paid for. There's not, given the fact that we have relative economic prosperity now, there's no reason to increase the deficit now. Time to lower the deficit. In fact, our polling shows that by a 70 to 30 margin, this is polling of plurality Republican small business owners, by a 70 to 30 margin, they would prefer to have a tax bill that does not hit the deficit, even if it means not getting a tax cut.
But doesn't that, is that accurate? I mean, do you cut the deficit by taxing rich people more? Historically, that's not what has happened. And this tax deal would tax richer people more.
Well, I mean, right now, it's a $1.5 trillion hit to the deficit, and most of those cuts are happening to wealthy people and big corporations, and not to the average Main Street small business owner. So I'm not sure what you're saying about raising the taxes on wealthy or people of the upper bracket.
Well, the top 1% will end up paying more in tax. That's what's going to happen here, because they've got deductions that are going to go away, and they get no cut in their top rate, 39.6. But bottom line here is there's a lot of constituencies lining up against this tax deal. The housing industry doesn't like it. You represent small businesses. They're not real happy about it. There's lots of constituencies ganging up against it. You going to kill it?
Well, I mean, as you said, small businesses are not in favor of this. There isn't a single small business organization in the country, right, left, or center, that actually supports this bill. So our interest is in looking at what is being done with the tax code to benefit the average Main Street small business. And we just don't see it here. Okay. We think if you want to do tax reform, there are other ways to do it. And by the way, we don't think anything should be done right now that's going to grow the deficit.
Okay, understood. John, thanks very much for joining us. One more opponent of this tax plan. Thanks for being here, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.